Can you hear me, Rob?
Yep, I got you over here.
Okay, I guess we're the
Okay.
only ones on
Yes.
right now.
Yeah, at the moment.
Okay. Yeah, I'm trying to figure. I always can't. I always have a hard time figuring this out. Hey, did you get that text message I sent to you and Nick?
Yes.
The picture of 406. Okay,
Yeah.
just want to check.
Yep. Yeah, I got it.
Okay, good, good. All right. I guess.
Hopefully it doesn't kick me off. I'm just going to load my notes here. If it
Okay,
does, I'll be right back on. See what it
okay,
does here. No, we're good. I have it up right now.
okay. Yeah, it's out there. It's out there working on the grass. It's terrible. I mean, the landscaping absolutely awful.
Yeah. What was the high today? Like 93 or something like that?
Did it get up that high?
Probably. It sure felt like it.
My my air conditioner can't keep up with it at my house right now.
Same. Mine's been running since I got home.
Yeah, and it just losing ground constantly. I'm up to 72 in the house.
Right. Right.
So
All right, so I got four questions on here for him. That's what I have from when we talked earlier.
okay,
So, did you
yeah,
think of anything else in the meantime, or no?
no, no, nothing else new.
Okay,
Nothing, nothing else. I hope Steve Davis comes on.
I hope we get a few guys on.
Yeah, I know. If it's just me and you, we can just call you on the phone.
Right. Doesn't do us any good though.
I know. Yeah, it doesn't do us any good, right? Yeah, we got a few minutes here.
Sometimes, sometimes it takes the guys to a few minutes to get on. So,
I thought I was going to be late for a few minutes, but I made it.
yeah, same.
Let's see. Eric Smith will have a recording of us, you and me, just talking.
I hope not.
I hope not either. I mean, yeah, we got to get. I guess we got to just sit here and wait 10 or 15 minutes.
Yeah. Usually Rodney takes a couple extra minutes before he's on.
Yeah, but I don't know. Whenever I come on, but I'm always a couple minutes late myself.
Yeah. He's
Usually,
usually like 7:05 our time, so
yeah, because it's only five something in Colorado, right?
yeah, I just hit 5 o'clock there.
Yeah. Uh, right.
Oh, I see Ken just got on.
All right,
Howdy.
Ken, how are you?
Oh, just getting myself set up. Actually, I'll be popping in and out because I've also got chicken up.
You're making chicken, you said?
Yeah, with the current weather, just leave it outside. That seems to get it pretty well done.
Yeah, no kidding. It's probably warmer in Syracuse than it is here in Buffalo, to be honest.
I think most of what I was seeing today was around 101.
Wow.
Oh, you had 101, Ken? We never hit 100 in Buffalo in history, recorded history. Holy mackerel!
Yeah, well, like I say, we're inland, so the heat kind of traps a bit better,
Right.
which is the same
Whereas
reason
here
why sometimes we get the colder than Buffalo.
right.
The
Yeah,
lake,
the lake's the reason why we never hit 100.
it moderates it both ways.
Right.
Did Hey Ken? I know you're dealing with LCC there. We're going to ask Rodney this question, but have you do you know of anybody who's using the hold features for the LCC, or are they just letting JMRI and Catch do the work for the signals?
What he means, Ken, is just the hold only feature on cats.
Okay. I know I did some work with somebody, though I'm drawing a blank at the moment, where, yeah, we had logic running on the node. This was only a test case so far, but the idea is that the logic was running in the node and CATS was basically doing the hold and release. Now, it was doing that via the fact that there was just an extra event pair for east and a event pair for west for each of the CPs so that it could get released or held.
Okay. And yours worked, huh?
I think so. It's been a little while. I have to check back to see how well that's working. Though I do have another layout that we're debating because, well, yes, we have a physical panel, but now we're also doing the occasional timetable train order session on it. And we're debating whether, yeah, should set up CATs so you can have the modern style dispatching on that layout. And that's all LCC underneath. So um, it wouldn't take me too hard to set up a test.
Okay. Yeah, because we're doing it on ours, and we ran into a couple of minor problems that Rodney's been addressing here. So
Yeah, the biggest part is I'd have to make sure I'm getting okay, what's the up to date? We'll start there and go forward. But actually, this week, um, I'm working my way out to, or actually after this weekend, running out to Bruce Chubb's in Grand Rapids to work on his layout for a while, and then a 2 day op session.
oh, okay. That sounds good. Is that the same Bruce Chubb that wrote the articles for in Model Railroader and all that?
Oh yeah, yep, he's still hanging in there.
How old is he now?
Uh, Dirt plus 10.
Holy heck. Okay, well, I guess he's doing all right then. That's good. It just seems like them books were so long ago. I was wondering.
Well, let's see. The originals was his thesis, and that was in the mid 80s. So you figure from there, but I'm pretty certain he's somewhere in the 90s.
Oh, really? Okay, good. Well, I'm glad he's doing good. Okay, that's good. That's good. Because if he did the thesis then in the 80s, he probably was in his 40s, right?
I would figure 30s or 40s at the time. I'm just trying to
Okay.
remember what I've seen of you know, pictures, headshots of him to guess that. I got cut away for a minute. Go check on the chicken.
Yeah, go get
Okay.
the chicken. Yeah, yeah. Okay. So it sounds Rob.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, it sounds like he just had a little test layout or something.
Yeah, not a full out setup like what we have.
Yeah, I. It's interesting because he mentioned a whole event for eastbound or westbound, and he probably had. That seems odd to me. It wouldn't have a separate hold for each signal. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but I'm just wondering if it's for traffic or not. That's and not the mast itself.
That could be. That could be. Yeah, you're right. It could be.
Now, what he would use it for, I don't know. Because it's probably what he did with the diamond that he takes to Springfield that he programmed for, the setup that we saw there.
Yeah, but he's got probably the traffic. Yeah, because he's got a full automatic interlocking there.
Right. But it doesn't seem to be the issue that we're having with ours. Ours seems to be, well, like what Rodney told us, involving the not normal, not reverse on the switches.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm sure. I'm sure it is. It's something like that. Very, but hopefully he comes on here in the next few minutes.
Yeah. Well, let's see what happens. I mean, I
Uh,
emailed him last night, but he didn't get back to me before the call here.
right, right. Hmm.
Yeah, I think if
There's
I leave my video on, you can tell when I stepped away.
okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I see the picture. Is that actual backdrop or is that just electronically imposed on there, that backdrop?
That's just electronic picture. It's my dog and me out on the 1 inch scale line. She liked the rides. She preferred the 1.5 inch size because then she could actually like lay down and just prop her head on the corner of the car. On the 1 inch, it's a little bit smaller.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. And they out there at the Finger Lakes Railroad, they got both of those gauges, huh?
Yep. Yeah, decent amount of track on each one.
Yeah, I always see videos about the what is it, Train Mountain in Oregon, all that track they got out there.
Yeah, they've got quite a bit of track, and it's impressive when you consider uh, that they lost a number of miles when the brush fire went through 2 years ago, maybe three. Kind of a lot of the north end of it just got either melted or run over by the dozers doing fire breaks and stuff.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, I think it cut them back to only 30 miles.
Oh boy. Well, yeah, it's probably a lot of damage there then.
Well, you consider when you take a train out through certain areas, you have to pick up a particular gondola that's got, fire axe, shovel, backpack sprayer, and a half dozen other things because yes, if you're going up there, you will be vigilant against anything happening.
I got you. Okay. Because I would assume they have live steamers there, right?
Well, the live steam, they're restricted just to propane powered. Um, some would say they could also run uh, kerosene, but not coal. The issue is the hazard and the rules of Oregon for starting a wildfire are rather onerous, and just the legal liability of a coal burner that might drop ash somewhere is like really right off the charts.
I get you. I understand. There's some outfit like that up in the Adirondacks too, isn't there? Someplace not as big as that, but I mean a pretty decent size one.
Yeah, there's a pretty good sized one over at Saratoga. Uh, they're just on the east side of the Northway, and that's Adirondack Live Steamers. And what's really interesting is the land that they're in is kind of folded, and you can have tracks surprisingly close to each other, but you don't really know the other track is there unless you go walking kind of across the terrain. And then you're like up here looking down and you see tracks over here and tracks over there. But
Oh,
when you ride it, you can't see each other.
and that's just an entirely private club too, right? That's
Yeah, I'll be back in a second.
okay. Hmm.
Hey, Rod.
Yeah, go ahead.
If I figure if Rodney gets me the um, updated jar, I may try to go to Rich's Sunday to test it since I'm off on Monday.
Oh, you're off on Monday?
Yeah, it's my rest day next week.
Okay. Well, it's it's plausible that I could come over there after work then.
Right. Yeah, because I'd still be over there because I don't have to get up on Monday.
Yeah, well, that would, we at least have a shot to get over there. I mean, afterwards. But
Right.
that would be 10:30 maybe, or whatever. But
Yeah,
still,
it's fine. I don't know if anybody else will be over there, but
yeah, I have no idea what the status is of everybody else.
right, right.
I mean, I don't know when's Rich supposed to leave next. Doesn't he have something coming right up?
Possibly. I mean, I'll ask him Saturday.
Yeah, so yeah, I probably won't be there Saturday. So
Or they're not what's time or not laying you in.
no, the assistant superintendent told me that he says, yeah, we were thinking of laying it in, but we're not gonna. He says,
Wow. Well, this should if you're done by 10, we should still be going over at Greg's there.
yeah, yeah, I would think so. I mean, I obviously it's no big deal for me to go over there. So after
Right,
work,
right. Yeah, I don't see why we wouldn't be over there till at least 11, if not later.
yeah, well, I'd stop by there for sure.
Right, right. Yeah, I got another party to go to before we go to Greg's, so but
Really.
yeah, yeah. But no, I'm hoping to go over there Sunday to test it. If not, and if it all depends on when Rodney sends me the update.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I got
I'll let you know if when he does.
okay. Uh,
I'll be honest, I'm surprised he's not on.
yeah, I mean, he either probably forgot or was busy. But
Yeah, he's probably busy. Like I said, I emailed him last night and I didn't hear back from him at all today. But the two previous days he had texted me around dinner time, our time. So he must have been had time in the middle of the afternoon to work on the code, or he was going over the log file I had sent him. So,
is there anything you could think of we could ask Ken? I mean, as far as Jam or I, or no?
uh, nothing offhand. know, nothing against Ken. I just wasn't expecting just him on. You know what I mean?
No,
I'm
no,
just
I
trying.
know.
Don't have any JMRI only questions to ask him. Really, I mean, I remember you and I talked about how the holds work in JMRI, but I don't think that the way that the issue is with us, I don't think that's what's causing it. That's what Rodney's working on. So
Yeah, but because we were discussing something about Panel Pro, I remember, and
yeah,
how
you had what was it you wanted to ask him?
well,
I don't think it was like how you apply the hold or unhold. There's a certain procedure to do that, but I mean I thought it was something else.
well, I mean, like we could ask him, what did what's this difference between how Panel Pro applies a hold and LCC versus CATs?
Yeah, yeah, we could.
I mean, at least it's something to ask him.
Right.
But, yeah.
Rich Shay's coming back tonight, Rod?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I think he's dropping off Dick, and then he's going to continue on, I believe,
Okay.
because he come down through toward up that way near. Well, what's straight north of Watertown? It's not Messina. Messina's off to the.
Yeah, no, it's like Ken would probably know better. Um trying to think where the intermodal terminal was there for a little while. And then it crosses St. Lawrence and then it's like right where Brockville is, I think, on the CN. I think that's where
What
he came
intermodal
across.
terminal you're talking about? It was an intermodal terminal on the Canadian side.
No, on the CSX was it it's Beauharnois. I forget how you say
Beauharnois?
it. Yeah, yeah, it's right up that way.
I thought Beauharnois was in right by the Canadian border toward Montreal.
No, it's not. I don't think it's up that far. It's closer to where Rich came across, if I recall.
Okay,
Yeah, I know he went like up through Kingston and then up to Brockville and then came across that way. That's why he would come home.
right. Well, there's Ken. Hey, Ken, we got a question. The Panel Pro on GMRI. What's the difference between the way the holds work if you're dispatching an LCC network versus cats? Or are they close? Or
Okay. What I've got basically in the panel on JMRI, it's got the signals and they're plugged in with all the different normal uh, aspects. Now, you can see that in the creation on JMRI, there is another event pair for hold, uh, but I haven't used that because to me, the CTC panel is asserting or releasing the hold, but what aspect you get out of the signal is based off of its logic. And is there a difference between it being at stop or it internally computing to be a stop because of the hold? Uh,
okay,
see, I'm trying to remember what I wrote, and I don't I don't recall the signal making any difference there.
okay,
Now, other non-LCC systems where JMRI was doing the logic, then yes, I was using the hold option in the actual signal mast.
okay. Yeah, because when Cats does it, we can watch in JMRI turn the hold on and off, or put it on or take it off, I should say, based on what the signal's doing.
Well, does it actually show a difference indication of the signal being held versus, say, the blocks occupied? They're both, at least far as what the train would see, it's a stop.
Yeah, but the logic we got it in the nodes that way. I think the
Right.
way we the way we did it is the first conditional has the event ID for a hold on the signal or non-hold or whatever,
Yep.
and it also looks whether the CTC is on, and then it proceeds to the next step. If the CTC is on that, then it'll recognize the hold. If the hold's released, then it goes up the ladder to figure out what the best signal it can display. If the interlocking was occupied, it would get to the second conditional and then show stop signal.
Mhm.
That's what it would do.
Yeah. But like I say, the way I've written it and used it, uh, it's all just different reasons to be the aspect stop.
Okay, I gotcha.
Now, when I have a couple of the signals that I have a call on or local control, I do something that it's kind of prototypical, kind of not, is I change them from being an absolute to being a restricting. So instead of a stop, it's a flashing red, as implying, yes, it's a stop and proceed. And that effectively it means, okay, there's somebody on the ground is in charge of that signal.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, there's just so many ways to do everything, the way you want to. It's just like you can do anything you want, whatever you can dream up, basically, you can do.
Yeah. Now, what I'm curious is from Rodney, what type of things had he been finding?
What did he find, Rob, that for us, you know it better than I do.
Well, we sent him a log, and he said that I'd have to look at the email again, but it was basically if we went into any of our switches and blanked out the route unoccupied report, it would simulate the issue that we're having of where a train will go through an interlocking, come out the other side where there's a main and a siding, and as soon as it enters the block, either on the main or on the siding, it sets the signal at the home signal at the other end of the siding to red, which it shouldn't, because it should be a medium approach or an approach, depending on what the way the switch is lined, and it,
Hmm.
it, we with we use exit signals, virtual exit signals, so we can get a restricting um, when I line up a route on cats. And if I put that in there, lining the signal up will drop the signal at the other end of the siding. But with no exit signals, it's occupancy that's causing it.
Hmm.
And from what Rodney found is that it's
Something's
something to do in the with the switches. Here, actually, you know what? Let me bring up my email here.
yeah.
He's on the line now, Rob.
Oh, he is on the lineup.
Yep, I'm
Yeah, at
here.
least for another minute, then I have to go flip the chicken.
All right. Let me find it real fast here.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, Rodney, welcome aboard.
Yeah, I was just got back from operating session as dispatching a TT and TL railroad, and it went longer than we thought.
Nice. That's the best excuse we've ever heard for you missing a call on here.
Did what kind of dispatching system did you have? Are you a CATS or timetable train order? What was it? What is it?
Timetable train order.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so it's called a piece of paper and a pencil.
Okay. All right. Well, that I figure the designer of CATS would say we need CTC now.
No, not this guy.
Okay.
He's modeling the Colorado and Southern 1958,
Okay. Okay.
and he was. How can I explain this? We joined Bell Labs at the same time, and then a few years later, he was my supervisor, and a few years later after that, he was my department head, and a few years later after that, he was my lab director. So he went up the chain, and I didn't.
Okay. Okay.
That's pretty cool, actually.
So yeah. I'm not sure I got all your problems fixed from listening to what you said, but I know I got the one fixed, and it all had to do with um, um, the doing the complete what do they call it? Exact reporting of turnouts. In other words, when the track reported that it was out of position, that wasn't working right, and so consequently, that screwed things up.
Okay. Now, what also was going on, Rob was keeping me informed of what was happening here. when you guys are communicating back and forth. I'm just wondering, as far as cats goes, and LCC holds, not cats not doing the logic for like your brother has it. The cat's doing the logic when CTC is there. Are we the only guys you know of with a functional layout that is using LCC for all the field decisions and just the holds from cats?
Um, no, I don't think so. I think there have been several others, but I couldn't name them right offhand.
Okay.
And they were reporting on here. Some of them, I was think that Ken was doing stuff too.
Well, we estimate he was doing a test. What it sounded like with a. He said it was never really, I guess, never actual in service per se, but they did some kind of testing with it.
Yeah, that could be.
But and so, Rob, what were some of the other questions we had?
Let me look at my notes. No, that was for Steve. What caused the signal to go to stop, or what causes a signal to go to stop? Remember we were talking about that earlier,
Oh,
Rod?
yeah, we're going in reference, Rodney. And when cats is even without LCC, without just normal operation, what is there like? Does it automatically drop this? Put the signal back to stop. Let's say when the interlocking is occupied, or beyond the interlocking occupied. Is that the way it's told to put it back to stop?
Okay. If you're running CTC,
Right.
so as soon as the train passes the signal, it will drop to stop because the track is occupied, and it will remain at stop until basically the idea is it'll remain at stop until the dispatcher sets another route through it.
Okay. Okay. Because we now, if hypothetically, if a switch, if let's say you had a signal line through a router and interlocking, even a simple one, and the switch went out of correspondence, that would put it to stop too, I would assume, right?
That's that's an interesting question. And I don't remember how I resolved that because by rights, the switch should, okay, if you've got a route, and you're talking about if you've got a route through an interlocking,
Yeah, you're all set. You got a route and the
right,
signal is displayed.
then by rights, the switch should not move. And by rights, I say the dispatcher can't move it because it's locked because
Right.
of the route, and the field shouldn't move it because they don't have permission.
Because we had a case and we think we got it corrected now, but it had tortoise that we got exact feedback, of course, on a layout. And the tortoise, the contact when we throw it one direction, when it was throwing normal, would actually flutter. With if you looked at the GMRI tables, like the sensor table, it would go in between not normal and normal. It was going back and forth because of a bad contact in there. Since it's been corrected, but I think when we were doing the tests, I think Rob had a signal clear through there on cats, and when it did that, it put the signal back to stop right away, and we had to re-request it. Am I right, Rob?
Yeah, Rodney, it was pumping so fast. The switch was that I clicked for a route and it would say route not, or how do you have it? What's the wording you have it for? Route is not available, or it's something similar to that. And I kept hitting it, and the switch would keep pumping so fast I couldn't get a route in.
Yep, that
And
explains it.
if you were watching the screen, you'd actually see the switch be the graphic go on off on off on off on off, and it was happening so fast some of the time that it was I couldn't put on a signal at all.
Yeah, that explains it. I saw that in the trace too.
Okay, I thought I had that in the trace, but I wasn't sure. I thought I had that in there.
Yep.
So
And then, yeah, and I didn't, I'm trying to remember if, I don't remember if we were tracing the mouse button being pushed, but I definitely saw the feedback going back and forth. And I thought you had something that was stuttering.
yeah, that's probably what it was. There, CP3 Rodney Kantorski, that is.
Right, right.
So,
Yeah, I would say so. But I mean, we have ran the overview, Rodney, when under ABS, and it works 100% perfectly, even tracking the symbols and all that. It did pretty good with the symbols too. We even had a guy back up one time, and I think that's the time it got mixed up, which makes sense. But other than that, normal operation, it worked so well. Because we got exact feedback, as you know, and the field panels were controlled, and you could watch it right on the overview of cats with our ABS setup, and you could see exactly what was going on. And, yeah,
Hmm.
obviously there's no traces or routes because nothing's being requested, but you'd see the signals or the switches in transit, and they go right over in the occupancies. It was really very real good, real good.
Yeah. So what amounts to is you got to wait for things to stabilize a little bit. In other
Okay.
words, if you throw a turnout, you have to pause for just a moment or two while things stabilize.
Right, right. But we found it's interesting. I found in the tortoise machines that we were having trouble with. I had it. I when I assembled it, I designed it so I could pull the tortoise off without much problem, just in case this would happen. And I went in there, and it was like sort of like the contacts weren't destroyed or anything. It was sort of like an actual buildup on the contact surface, which kind of surprised me. I'm not really quite sure how it's like a whitish coat on there. So I mean, it's maybe from micro arcing, possibly, or whatever
Yeah.
through the. And so I cleaned that up with rubbing alcohol, or not rubbing alcohol, isopropyl alcohol. And then after that dried, I put Noax on the contacts there, on the contact plate and cleaned it up real good. And ever since anyone that's happened to us, it's happened to us in about 4 switches. It's never had a problem after that, after I did the cleanup. But I'm assuming you go through the whole layout eventually where we'll have to address that problem.
Yeah, I think you will.
And it's not hard to fix if you get as long as you get it didn't take me that long to do really, especially after you get after you do one or two, you really know what to do. You got to just be careful them gears don't go flying all over the place when you take it apart.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I'm just trying to think where the contacts are because I think I've taken. I didn't think I had to take the whole thing apart, but maybe you do.
yeah, well, there's 5 screws holding it together. You go right through that label that says if you screw that, the warranty's gone. But obviously, the warranty's only a year, so all them switches are well over a year.
Hmm.
So I just went in, and it was nothing that was broken, just a cleanup.
Hmm.
So, Rob, what else do we have there? What other some stuff?
just well, we wanted if Steve Davis was on, we were going to ask him if or if exact feedback on a non-LCC layout was another one.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, Rodney. The thing was the issue that you think you found here with our situation. Wouldn't that occur on a non-LCC layout with exact feedback, or is it just subject to the hold being taken on and off, and it doesn't affect the other stuff?
Okay, the situation would occur on a non-LCC layout. In fact, I caught it without using the hold feature. Okay,
Okay,
but the thing it was okay. First of all, not a lot of users use exact feedback. Most of them will do just what Digitrax call positive, that the points are in place on one side or the other, and you won't see it there because it's when the points going out of place event. That's what causes the first thing to happen. The second thing that happens is that you've got the virtual signal adjacent, off paired against a control point.
okay,
And the reason that happens, it happens there, okay, is basically the way the stuff is coded up is that the signal has to tell the what would you call it, the up downstream signal, the one in approach. It has to tell it what it thinks about itself. In other words, it has to say if, for example, like advanced approach, the signal's got to tell the signal in approach that I'm showing an approach aspect so that it can do the advanced approach. Okay.
Okay.
But when you do CTC and the route propagates, so it goes from signal to signal in the same direction. The problem is when you have an intermediate and automatic signal, then that has to forward on the fact that the route is coming through it.
Okay.
So that because the route goes from a control signal to control signal, so you've got an automatic in there which is not a control signal, so the route continues on. Now, in the case of when you put a automatic signal, like you're doing your virtual signal, pair it with a control signal, then the virtual signal, the automatic signal has got to say the route is continuing through the control signal so that you don't get allow a reverse move. So
Okay.
it's I think I've heard a signal engineer called a half pocket situation. Okay. And
Yeah.
so it's a combination of the fact that basically the the points moving out of place didn't were being ignored is what it amounts to. And they were being ignored, so consequently you had a turnout immediately following it. So normally the turnout would go to fouling because you're moving the points, and they would do that when it got the points out of in movement operation. And since that wasn't happening, the the that direction through the turnout was not fouling. And then when you set the route, it went through the automatic signal, and the automatic signal had to tell the one downstream saying, hey, you got a route through here. And rather than being blocked by the points being fouling, it went straight through to the signal
Oh,
going the other direction.
okay. All right. I understand. I got you. You explained it well. Now you do understand though that we Rob's got a layout set up without the virtual exit signals, and then the conditions changed. Uh, it would drop the signal when the train, in lieu of lining up the signals, it would let us line up the signals. It would be no problem. But when the occupancy occurred on the adjacent track, either the siding or the main, that's when it would drop the signal at the interlocking, would be the opposite direction. So if you had the interlockings A and B, and you were making a meet, A's line to the main and B's line to the siding in opposite directions. If a train came through B, he could enter the interlocking at B, and as soon as he entered the siding at between B and A, as soon as he occupied that block, the signal at A, even though it was lined for the main on a non-conflicting route, would drop to stop, or the hold would actually go back on. I should say. Uh, we watched it in Jammer Eye.
Okay, I'll have to look at it because I haven't seen that. And again, it's I can kind of see where it would happen because uh, your event of the points moving out of place didn't foul the switch. So consequently, I can see where the occupancy might go through. Um, but it should have stopped at the control signal going into the interlocking.
Okay.
And we've been using this code on two different layouts, and we've had operating sessions, and I haven't seen it. I'll have to look at that again. So what you're saying is when you got the route going in, and then when you bring in a train from the other end, when it occupies one of the tracks, say the siding, that'll knock down the route going in from the other end.
It, other end toward the main, right? A non conflicting track, the opposite track, it would knock it down.
Yeah.
And that, and I didn't we do it both ways, Rob? We reversed it, the main and siding, and we tried it a couple things, right?
Yeah, we tried both scenarios at each interlocking. It happened every time.
And then, Rodney, what we did was that we had the GMRI table up with the hold, and Rob would, we just for the hell of it to look, see what would happen. We actually, clicked on the GMRI table to release the hold, and the signal would come back in. But
Yeah.
then it would never go back to stop. we we couldn't get the cats or whatever. We had to manually put the hold back on through the table, and it was funny because it would act like an automatic. Then it would just keep reclearing,
Hmm.
which I was surprised that somehow some way with running a train through there wouldn't throw the hold back on, but I don't, it didn't. I mean, not that that makes a difference because if it works right in the beginning, it shouldn't be an issue. But it seemed odd to us that we couldn't just by running trains through there or throwing the switches and all that it never put the hold back on. The
Yeah.
hold stayed off.
Okay,
Well,
something I'm curious. Any of the
Sure.
stuff I've done has always been fairly strict about making sure that you do your route first, and kind of the last step is it's releasing the holds at that, and then effectively as you get the different occupancies, it's resetting the hold as you go. Um, because to my knowledge, the main idea of fleeting is okay, you're setting something that says, yeah, normally when this OS goes active, you would be releasing the hold, but instead you're saying, okay, we're going to retain the hold to keep the route, going. Some of this, I'm going, okay, when you're getting, let's call it bleed over between one track and another as to occupancy or that causing something where you don't think it should, I get back to, I think there might be a hole in the signal logic.
Oh, you think that could be possible, huh? Because we actually we got it to work pretty good. It seems like our setup works pretty good because we have the first conditional whether the hold is on or not. If because the hold is on, it just says show stop and exit group. That's it.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying is that if you're getting certain interactions, it's sounding like there may be something else happening. Now, what
But
I did when I was doing my development, I spent a lot of time just in ABS mode in with just the nodes, uh, between running trains and just stimulating particular sensors to make sure that yes, the right thing happened. Because when you're using like a template like approach, it's awful easy to copy paste the wrong value somewhere. And it ends up, no, it's not listening to that sensor, it's listening to this sensor. Um, but that's where
well,
I spent a lot of times with the LCC monitor open, and I would just be manually triggering one step at a time through it, and then ensuring, yes, I see the right things happening and the right message, events going back and forth.
well, one thing I want to make a point of, Ken, so is what we did was we had cats running, and we have the situation where it was placing a hold back on it. Rodney, we were just talking about Rodney here, and one of the things that we had the JMRI table up showing, what do they call it, Rob? The signal mass or signal chart, or what's the proper name, Rob?
Sorry, guys. It's the signal mass table.
Signal mass table is up, Ken. We had the screen split, okay, to try and analyze this. And then we moved a train through it. We inched them through the interlockings, and we saw when, in the particular case with no what we call virtual exit signals, it would it would drop the signal as soon as it got on the block uh, between the two interlockings on the opposite track. So we were monitoring the GMRI table, watching the hold be placed back on. It wasn't something in LCC that was doing that. It was, it was strictly just because cats and GMRI know nothing about field indications at all. With all other than all they know is what hold on, hold off, or the position of the switches and occupancy of the tracks. So it it's pretty obvious that it was something was telling it to put the hold back on because we watched it happen.
Yeah, I think in some of that, well, one of the other tricks I do, usually I'll end up with a number of different profiles. And in one case here, what I'm thinking, you'd want a profile that doesn't involve cats, does include the turnouts and the occupancy sensors and the signal mass, and basically nothing else. So you're able to see strictly if something is changing something, it's because of logic in the nodes.
And we're fine there because we got
Okay.
we run ABS and we don't see any problems at all. We've looked
Okay.
at extremely close. I mean, because
Mhm.
we constantly are testing it, and when we put it in service, we tested every possible combination, and they're all fine. We watch ABS and the signals roll perfectly, like everything's an automatic. Um, but Rodney Black, you understand when we were talking about these virtual exit signals or whatever, why we did that, right? Do you understand why we did that?
Yeah, it has to do with you want to get a restricting after the train exits the block or something.
Right. That's the only reason for that. And we'd be satisfied to get the first step working just the regular way the normal way it's in there with no problem. That's the only one that's acting up when the occupancy, like we talked about, happens between the two locations on the opposite track. So
It, yeah, but I think you still have the exact feedback, which isn't working.
okay, yeah, we do have. That's correct. Yeah, there's no. Yeah, everything is exact feedback.
And that's perhaps the main difference I've seen between that and the layouts in which I've been testing on. None of them have exact feedback.
So John Parker's railroad that has just positive feedback or whatever they call it.
Yeah, yep,
In theory, when you're out there, if you clear a signal, throw a switch and clear a signal, sometimes the points will still be moving and the signal will be displaying clear over it, right? I would assume in that case,
uh,
even because we know it's pretty
Mhm.
damn fast. It really don't matter,
yeah,
but
it'd have to be because your points are either on one alignment or the other alignment. Yeah,
Well,
okay,
and basically that's the difference between one sensor and two sensor for the
yes,
feedback, because one guy, he actually liked the way that worked, though it cost him a number of extra IO boards, but every turnout was using two sensors. So as soon as it started to move, the signal would drop. And it wasn't until it basically finished moving, okay, split second maybe, that the signal would come back up.
right,
And that was just because using both contacts on the tortoise motors to say, okay, you made it here, you made it there. Most people just use the one sensor, which means when the turnout starts moving, the signal won't change for a while and then it changes. But then when you throw the other way, it like almost immediately changes the signal because that's where the actual make break in the sensor is
right,
at just the one side of the throw.
okay, yeah, because we got exact feedback. You can see when it's under ABS mode, you manually throw the switch. The signal always goes to stop for something just for the tortoise transit time. It was usually less than 1 second, but it's very clear that it goes to stop and then it re-clears. even under ABS when there's no JMRI or cats involved whatsoever.
Now, when you say exact mode, remind me, which is your command station?
Uh, uh, Command station.
Yeah, Digitrax NCE, you
Oh,
know,
we got NCE for DCC,
right.
but
No,
for
it's all LCC, Ken.
Okay.
It's all signal LCCs and BOD4 CPs.
Okay.
Yeah, the jargon of exact mode and positive, it comes out of the Digitrax Big Book of DCC.
Right. That's
It's
why I brought the
yeah.
question. I
Well,
was
but the
going, now,
problem
wait a
is,
minute.
yeah, but it's not specific in the context they use. It's not specific to Digitrax. It's, do you have one sensor? Do you have two sensors? That's what it means in the Big Book of DCC. So it doesn't matter what your DCC system, it's just the number of sensors.
right. That's what we got. We got two sensors for every turnout. Two pins are used up on every mainline turnout, and then we got a separate pins for controls too. So so we got a bunch of them there, and if we got a crossover, we got it really complicated. We got it a crossover has four sensors on it. It's checking the switches on both ends of that. It's really cool because we had an issue one time with a crossover, and just by viewing the CATS board or a sensor table, we instantly knew what problem, which motor it was, and all that. And I went over and manually played with it after we looked at it, and it fixed it right away. It was crazy how good it was, the information.
Yeah, right now I'm just trying to bring up one of my copies of the system to see which way I consider the turnouts. Let's see, that one was named. Hmm. Uh, do, 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 do.
So Rodney Black, if we changed our feedback to positive feedback instead of exact, it would probably work without any issues then.
I would say, I think yes. I can't be sure because, unless there's another mechanism going on, but I think it would.
But but you
Okay.
do but you do have an idea for a fix, I assume,
Oh
right?
yeah, the fix was real easy.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes it easier. It's interesting how positive versus exact feedback is making a difference, though. It's that's funny, really, or odd, I should say, to me.
Well, yeah, I know, but I had trouble duplicating it because it all has to do with when you're looking at the points from the frog head. Are the points aligned to which frog? And the problem was because the exact was being ignored, um, that both frogs were lined. So you didn't have one path through it being fouling. Now, if you just flip the points back and forth and treating it like positive feedback, everything worked fine. And so, in trying to duplicate this, um, I had to play some combination of simulating exact feedback and getting the points out of place. And if I didn't do things in the right sequence, just manipulating things through the points in place, everything worked fine.
Oh, Hey Rob, that might explain it. One time we didn't have the signal drop. We were playing with the switch at the other end or whatever, and it didn't do it on one side, but did it on the other, just like one or two times. It probably was that was the reason.
Probably that makes sense.
Yeah, because then we were scratching our heads like, why would it do it not do it there? So that would be an interesting.
That's interesting.
It sure is because that would mean that what Rodney suggested, and if a guy was like lining a siding, Rob, after you line them up at the siding at the one interlocking, let's say 23, and you'd throw the switches back and forth at 25, and then line it in, it probably would work, I guess.
Well, if you disabled um, um, the points out of place, in other words, one side of your double pull double throw, that would do it too, because
Yeah,
basically,
that's what you suggested in the email you sent me. Was blank out the route unoccupied report box
yep.
and see what it would do there.
And
I
Okay,
think
one thing I'm looking at in my Drew James layout in JMRI, the definition for the turnouts is monitoring mode for all the LCC turnouts. Now, it is only offering you the option of monitoring one sensor, two sensor, and direct. Now, looking at some of the help page, trying to see, okay, by definition, what's the difference? Because somewhere I remember in the last year or two, there was a debate or some definitional, okay, what do these different terms actually mean to some of the different systems? And yeah, it was some of these diverged quite a bit from original intent because, okay, this definition came from Digitrax, but on this system, it doesn't really match well. Let's see. I'm trying to find, yeah, because I remember seeing a document that explained some of that fairly well. And right now I'm okay. All right. Direct says when something tells it to change, it assumes the change actually happened. One sensor, two sensor, all sorts. Monitoring basically says monitors network for changes about the turnout and acts accordingly, which sounds close but not exact to what the direct is. And then exact is only meaningful for LocoNet and only when you have certain LocoNet hardware. Yeah. Now, Rodney, uh, within CATS, has it replicated some of this different types of feedback or not?
Um, it does not pay any attention to monitoring at all. It doesn't
Okay.
use it. So I guess you could say it replicated it. Okay, in the sense that in cats, if you put those two boxes, route selected report and route unselected report, and if those are filled in, then cats will put a listener on those. Is basically what it amounts to. So you could say it's monitoring all depends upon what you've filled in when you define the turnout. And you see the other thing is it doesn't even have to be a sensor. You could put in you could put a turnout into each of those things. You could put in a reporter. So the monitoring, it doesn't look at monitoring.
Okay.
And so consequently, yeah, the system DCC or non-DC doesn't matter. It's just you tell how many sensors, which sensors you have, and how I read them. So it just goes to very raw, open, closed, active, inactive, whatever um, the 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 jammer terminology is for the values.
Mhm.
Rob, there's no more questions we had right on there, or
No, that was pretty much everything that we had on our list
okay.
for now. Now, Rodney Black, I did email you back last night, and if you want to send that updated jar or set it so I can download it, I'm hoping to get over to the layout Sunday to test it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I wanted to talk about that before, we break off here and everything. Um,
Right.
yeah, I can, it'll only take a few minutes to generate a new jar. I want to
Okay.
change the timestamps on it and stuff, so I'll be able to recognize it if I should ever see it again. And I think what I'll do is upload it to the cat's website like I did the last one.
Yep. That worked perfectly the way you did that the last time.
Yeah. Now, interestingly enough, I sent it via email to John Parker as well, and he couldn't get to work either. So I think my emailer um, must be doing something to the file when it gets sent. And so I think the safest way of doing things is to put it up on that website and give you the link to it.
Right. Yeah, that worked out much better that way. Yeah, I just wanted to let you know that. Yeah, we'll take it and test it, and we'll see what happens.
Okay.
But I can say that everything else seems to be working really good. Um, what had nothing to
Yeah,
do with.
Rodney, those other fixes that you made for us, we're not having any issues with them.
Okay. Good.
Yeah, I mean, the one, if you recall, the one where the traffic would be stuck in one direction, and we had to re-clear the signal in the same direction, and then knock it down, and then run the signal the other way, and then the traffic would come in. That fix you got in there works good,
Okay.
and of course, crossing the diamond is no problem whatsoever. We tested that, and everything worked perfectly. Matter of fact, we got that interlocking pretty complicated. I don't know whether you want to say it's complicated, but we got it set up so that the system knows when it's on ABS. You can push a button on the emergency panel there, or it's not emergency panel, it's the ABS panel, let's call it, because that's standard usage. And you push a button, and the signals will clear in both directions as a restricting, meaning that JMRI and CATS is not even on. They're not even turned on. It's just LCC. But when CATS is running, we have it directionally sensitive, and it worked perfectly just the way, boom, you click on one clears not the other, and vice versa.
Hmm.
And it worked absolutely great.
Yeah. Well, this bug it's one of those how'd I miss it type of things because there are two methods in there. One is when for for in place sensing, and one is for out of place sensing. And the code looks exactly pretty much the same, except they send a different value to the routine that moves the points around. And I had a problem with the in place, and I said, "Oh yeah, now I see it. I removed one line, and I should have removed the same line in the other one. Why I left it in, I don't know, but I convinced myself at the time that it needed to be in there. And as soon as I looked again, I said, nope, that's wrong."
Okay, so the issue right now, as far as it appears, it has nothing to do with the holds or LCC or anything like that. It had to do with exact feedback.
Yes, and putting that virtual signal in, because that virtual signal, um, given the fact that it was an automatic, it passed more stuff upstream than otherwise it would be everything would be blocked by the control signal that was right next to it, opposite it.
Okay,
And so
okay,
I specifically looked for that situation because you have to pass um, if you don't do it that way, then you get into a problem down the road, where you can run two trains into each other.
Okay, I got you. Okay, I got because in reality too on the prototype, the CNO actually had some interlockings where they had exit signals from the interlockings, not virtual, real signals. I was always shocked when I saw stuff like that with the CNO. And they did it, didn't they, Rob? Not everywhere, but they did it in quite a few spots, didn't they?
Yeah, there were several spots in West Virginia. I remember when I was fanning down there that had them. I was surprised to see them set up like that. But
Were they yeah, were they automatic or dispatcher controlled?
I believe they were automatic because I remember it was at the let's say it was a westbound home signal. So there'd be a westbound exit signal at the interlocking. And as soon as the um, dispatcher would line a route through, the second signal would go clear or whatever aspect that the logic was telling it to set. So as far, I don't recall any automatic ones like that. Or I should say the exit signals were automatics, basically. They weren't dispatcher controlled.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's the only place I've ever seen it set up like that.
Yeah, I think we saw one in Ohio between Toledo and Fostoria too, didn't we, Rob?
Toledo and Fostoria on which line?
On the
On
CNO
NS?
line.
Oh, on a
CNO?
CNO? Oh yeah. Um
I thought there was one there that I saw because I was amused by it.
maybe Pemberville has one, but I don't really recall seeing it there. And I don't think the B&O Center siding has it either.
Right, right. But but I recall seeing it one place, and I says, well, this is odd.
Yeah. No, the C&O is the only place I've ever seen that like that. But Rodney, when I go to test the version that you're going to upload there, I'm not going to use any exit signals. We're not using them at all in tests.
Mm-hmm.
And just for the reason, the complication of having them in there, just for, make sure we get everything working correctly without them, and then maybe we'll start tinkering with them. But um,
Well,
we're not going to do them simultaneously. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, that's a good plan.
yeah, we're going to go with the regular non-exit signal route to begin with, Rodney. And if that works, the exact feedback was probably the cause of both of them, exit signal or not, right?
Yeah, that was one thing. That was one thing you wanted to mention, Rod. Was if it fixes the one way, it might fix both ways. Would that be
Yeah,
right, Rodney Black? Or is it
yeah,
possible?
yeah, it's possible.
Okay. Well, if obviously if it does fix the one, then we'll have to test the other and see if it works or not, or if there's any, if it's different at all.
Yeah,
Yeah, well, all you got to do, Rob, is keep track of what you're doing with the different files. Is all you know.
Yeah, no, I just got to keep track of the log files I send to Rodney. That's all it is.
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, yeah,
So he knows what he's looking at.
we get the one working without the virtual exit signals. That would be great. And then if that seems to work, well, then we got to just make sure to download the same jar file to the one with the exit signals and give it a try.
Yeah, no, it's the same jar. I just change layouts
Oh
when
yeah,
I go to
okay.
load file. That's all it is.
Okay, you just load it with the same one.
I just load the layout with the exit signals in it, not the one without it. That's all it is.
Okay.
It's the same. It's the same jar file. The jar never changes.
Oh, okay. You're educating me.
And,
I didn't know.
yeah, the jar is the version of cats that I'm running.
Okay, and it's the same thing with ABS, right? Then the ABS display that you got.
Yeah, it would be. Yeah, it'd be the same.
Yeah, so you just choose the ABS file. Okay. Yeah, all right.
Right.
Wait, Rodney, we appreciate you going through this. Really, that's a lot to go through. He really helped us, man. You know.
yeah. Well, again, it was I knew you guys were doing something different, and you're doing enough things different. It was figuring out which piece of it. And like I say, you'd see it mostly with both is the exit signal and the exact feedback. It was that combination that brought it out and made it deterministic. But even then, the order all depend upon what you were getting from the layout. Which sensor was firing first, the out of place or the in place, and stuff like that, and trying to duplicate it was kind of tough because I did,
Oh,
it's a you have to go through things in just the right sequence.
oh yeah, and what's funny is that since we have exact sensor, there's one always saying it's out of place. It's either the reverse or normal is out of place or both when it's in transit, and only
Hmm.
one of the four is saying it's in place. Is
Hmm.
it right, Rob? What I'm saying?
Yeah, we got four event IDs, and one of the four is always active.
Yeah, yeah. One of the four is always active. We could have
Because
two.
because the switch is either normal, not reverse, or reverse, and it's the four event IDs we have for it.
So we could theoretically have two event IDs active that are not normal, not reverse, because when it's on center.
Correct. That's correct.
Okay, yeah. So that's the thing that's monkeying it up. That monkeyed it up. Okay, or that you found it with. And like you said, not too many people are using exact feedback, so that would come out with us first.
Yeah, and typically what they'll do is they'll only use two sensors, um and so consequently one of them will be active and anyway. Yeah, the combinations are pretty tough.
Okay,
and
okay,
and and it gets worse, and that's one of the things I'm trying to fix in this load, in the sense that you would expect, if your points are lined for the main, let's say, and you throw them so they go to the diverging, you would think that you would get an out of place on the main, then an in place on the diverging, right? Because that's what happens mechanically.
correct.
However, depending upon your delivery system, whether it be CMRI or some of these others, particularly if they're poled, you may find that you will get the in place on the diverging before you get the out of place on the main. And that all comes about because, for example, with CMRI, you're playing with two bits in a pole, and depending upon when the pole happens, both bits may flip. Then it depends upon the order in which JMRI scans those bits to report them to CATS.
Okay, all
So
right.
you get down into the weeds here, and it's possible that, and I don't know I don't know how LCC is doing it, but it's possible you will get an in place before you get an out of place, and that was messing up CATS, so I had to filter that out.
Okay, cool. Because we actually see it on the panel, by the way, when we throw the switch, just watching it, you can see it going through the transit move. It looks really cool, like the prototype. Of course, there's no indication delay. Coming back from the field, it's instantaneous, more or less. And but you can see the transit as soon as you click on the switch, it's out, and then all of a sudden it comes in all the time. I think it looks pretty cool.
Hmm.
You know, and you can see when you have the ABS layout up and you see the guys out in the field throwing the switches, you can see them transiting all the time. All of a sudden, it goes on center and then it comes locks up the other way. It's
Hmm.
it's pretty neat, really.
Hmm. Yep. Yeah, that's something we're gonna play with one of these days. Is as I was rewriting this stuff, I realized that I need two things in my I put up on the panel. One thing is to show that cats recognize the user wants to throw the points. And currently what I use is they're just disconnected. You got a blank box in there. And then the second thing I need to do is show, okay, now they're in transition. And that would be the logical thing to put in the disconnected because there's no route through there. But if I do that, then you don't get the immediate feedback. So I think in the future, what I'm going to do is when cats recognizes the mouse click, it's going to drop a blue box on the points. And then when I start getting feedback, then I'll remove the blue box and the points will show if they're lined to one route or the other or neither.
Okay, so to be like the blue box would indicate it's not in correspondence yet. In other
The
words,
blue box would say, um, I recognized you through the mouse. It's
okay,
feedback, say, as opposed to, you can click a mouse and nothing happens. You want to be able to see that something happened.
okay, I gotcha. Because that's sort of like you get a some of the ATCS screens have that little box on them like that, similar to that. When
Yeah,
it show or when the switch is locked, it's solid or whatever. It's blinking otherwise or whatever. Yeah, I gotcha. I understand what you're saying.
It's the same thing when you line a route or you attempt to line a route and say it's got to throw a switch before it's gives it the signal. The signal will blink. Obviously, that's the way you have it. The code set, Rodney.
yeah,
And it looks really neat that way. It looks very prototypical, but it's the same concept though what you're talking about.
yeah. Well, the blinking signal is basically saying we're halfway there. You've told me where you want to start the route, and I'm waiting for you to tell me where you want to end the route.
Right, right, yeah, with the yeah, with the NX or whatever, and yeah, the
Yeah,
groups, and that works real good too. We tested that run, and it was like threw all the switches, did everything just fine. We did some pretty large routes on it, which switches were against it, and everything was perfect.
yeah. I think I've tried one where I went all the way across John Parker's layout. I said, okay, I'm going to enter the layout here. Let's make that my entry signal. And I'm going to exit the layout over there. I'm going to make that my exit signal. Let's see what happens. And I was amazed it actually set it all up pretty quickly.
It's pretty neat. We had stuff like that on Conrail in the prototype where you could set up a route like that. But when the original CAD screens, when we had them during the transition from the hard face panels on Conrail, they didn't have a fleeting situation at all. That you couldn't fleet them signals, believe it or not.
Hmm.
And then
No,
as time went on, it's another thing, Rodney. You on the cats, we were playing with that a little bit. There's no indication by looking at a panel that the signal is fleeted, is there?
no, there isn't.
Okay.
What
Yeah,
I've got plans. What I'd like to do is change the color of the base to give
gotcha.
you a different one, and that's something I haven't done. That's something I'd like to do.
Okay, so if fleeting is activated on that signal, it would, yeah.
Would it be possible to put like a box over the mast? Is or not really? I think that's the way like, NS or CSX uses their screens, if I recall correctly. If you have it fleeted,
I don't know. One of the things I need to look at is what will Java Swing let me do? I think if I put a box over it would hide the signal underneath. I think if they let me do some form of transparency or put the signal behind or the box behind the signal, it might work. It's something I'd have to play with. We're getting down into the intricacies of what Swing will let me do and not do with graphics.
gotcha. That was just a
It,
question that we had before. I'm glad you brought that up.
actually, the idea I was having there is that if you had an icon that it's your signal, but you put a border around it, then you're not overlaying two different icons. It's just you're changing it from the regular signal to the signal indicating that you're fleeting.
That's an interesting thought, Ken. I hadn't thought of doing that, but Cats doesn't use icons. The reason being is because you got to figure out how to generate them and where to store them and all that kind of stuff. So it actually draws them. So if you see a quote icon, let's call it a widget, is a circle with a triangle, it draws a circle and it draws a triangle.
Hmm.
And then, like I say, when I was getting, when I was throwing this stuff together originally, I couldn't figure out. Again, this stuff is, 25 years old. 25 years ago, I couldn't figure out from the Java documentation. I knew how to do icons, but I couldn't figure out, how to store them and bring them up and all that kind of stuff. Because Cats uses almost no storage. The only storage it uses is the XML file.
Yeah, actually, what's funny is those type of graphic objects, glyphs is what I recall,
Yes,
but that's from back terminology we used in the 80s.
you're
Uh,
right.
the other thing I wanted to reminder is, okay, you don't do fleeting right now, but do you do route stacking
It does both fleeting and route stacking. It just doesn't show that you've fleeted.
or show that you have a stacked route?
It doesn't, you're right, but you can figure out it's got a stacked route by clicking on any icon, any signal icon, and it'll tell you what. And you can pull up a menu item. They'll show you what routes have been stacked. And you're right. That'd be another thing. That'd be, So now we're getting um, multiple things on a signal, and it's starting to get kind of complicated. Well, it can be fleeted. Is fleeting mutually exclusive with stacking, or I don't know. And I didn't do anything on changing the presentation of a stacked icon because you could actually have multiple stacks off the same signal, and you could have it going in and out. And when I was doing the stacking stuff, I said there are too many things and possibilities to consider. I'm just going to keep it simple. And so, yeah, you can get a list of what signals have been stacked, and you can reorder the stacking as well.
I'm thinking about the graphics primitives and yeah, icons overlaying, you'd have to have transparency. The other trick there is if you're doing it as just a multi-segment line, you could make your border and it knows, okay, it's just really a line going here to here to here to here to here. And that would leave the icon, your current graphic of the signal in the middle.
Yep, and I agree. That's an intriguing idea to try because Swing has bounding boxes and stuff like that. So you just basically draw the bounding box, which is that looks like it's got a lot of promise. Thank you.
That, that would be cool. I'm trying to think, Rodney, on CSX when they do a stack command, you can see the next stack command at the interlocking, and there's two icons that come up, and I wish I could remember exactly what it is, but it's obvious to me. It's showing what's the next route they're going to do, and these guys use stack commands all the time now. We very rarely ever used anything like that.
Yeah.
Hey, Kantorski, isn't the way the route that's lined is green and then the exit on the stack is yellow?
Yeah, what the
It's
next
something
request
like
is
that,
going to be.
right?
I think, yeah, there's an icon that's green and an exit that's yellow. That's the next route to come in. And when the guy clears the interlocking, it goes right over. I I could tell you guys because Ken and Rodney Black, you'll understand this because of the railroad knowledge you have. But I think I told Rob about it. I told you about the false at CP28 there, Rob, on the prototype when the switch went over in front of me.
Oh yeah, yeah. Go ahead and tell them about that one.
Yeah. Well, long story short is I took headroom and interlocking that's going towards Canada, believe it or not, Niagara Falls, New York, and there's so much rust on the rail because nobody ever uses this track. We were in the interlocking, and and I had an engineer trainee, and I looked at the route in the field. You could see everything was fine. We got a restricting. We pulled into the interlocking, and I'm just setting over, and I needed headroom at that interlocking. That's the last interlocking prior to going to Canada, and the Amtrak station is right there. So it precedes the interlocking, which is 28, the Amtrak station, and then the international boundary, all within like about a quarter mile, maybe a half at the very most. Okay, so it's all very close. and we pulled into the interlocking because we needed headroom to set over. And I told the dispatcher, once we clear the interlocking, we won't need it anymore. You can line Amtrak up. And he proceeded to put a stack command in for the Amtrak train to cross over from its normal route, which is they call it the signaled siding there, over in towards the Canadian National Railroad. And we pulled up, and the engineer trainee was running it. And all of a sudden he says to me, "How'd that switch can possibly be against us?" And I looked, and I was shocked. What happened? I says, "Well, we were going to go the other way, and I'm thinking this is going to create all kinds of chaos if I just announce this on the radio." I says, "Forget about it. Let's just back up because I know what it is. It's rusty rail, and we lost the shunt." So we backed up, and you could see that the signal was routed off the siding right there. We could see that signal lit up for Amtrak. So when it lost the shunt, the switches went right over. The stack command came in, and the signal cleared through the interlocking. But yet we were still in the interlocking, so that was pretty wild.
Yeah, what you're talking about is a model railroading moment on the prototype.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. But
Because that's we get that all the time on the model railroad. You have to have a really good track, track laid and cleaned and all that kind of stuff for this stuff to work as well as the prototype does. But the prototype still has rust and things break.
right, and that's what happened there. But on that subject, by the way, we have one of our guys that comes over to the layout there. He's been doing all the resistor wheel sets, and we
Hmm.
we decided to go with four every axle. The outside ones are 10K, and the inside ones are 22K. And while it sounds like a lot of work for this guy, it's not. They got it down pat. There's two of them. One guy works for Amtrak, and one guy works for Norfolk Southern, and they put 50 of them together in one night with every axle having a shunt on it. And I can't believe how good it works, because once the 10K trips it, the 22K retains it. Even if the 10K loses contact for a second, it
Hmm.
won't release it. And
Hmm.
we just didn't want to draw too much current by having like Dave Abel's Onondaga cutoff. He's got 3.6K resistors on both ends of the cars. And then I'm starting to think that's a current problem all of a sudden. At that point, if you have a lot of cars out there. But this has been working really well. They've been doing a real good job. But one of the things when they worked on putting the resistors on is the wheels are surprising to us how much buildup there is on it. He takes an X-Acto knife and runs it on the wheel, and not every car, but a lot of them have it flakes off like almost like a plastic. It's crazy the way that the buildup on the wheels, where you lose a shunt.
Yep. You got to keep your track clean.
Oh yeah, well, we got that pretty good too. That's been working real good for us. We got it there. I also discovered a paint by MG Chemicals, and it's a nickel based paint because I didn't like the carbon based paint for the shunts. We just in a silver based paint there was some of this stuff out there. I think Walthers had something there years ago or whatever, but this stuff is made in Canada. It's not really cheap, but a 55 milliliter bottle you can get for $45, which is a lot of paint.
Hmm.
And it works like a champ, man. It's
Hmm.
nickel based, and you shake it, and we haven't had any problems at all with it, none whatsoever. It, it
That's
goes
a good
right.
tip to know.
Yeah, it's yeah, MG Chemicals. There's an exact number, but it's really really good. I think they have a water based one too. Then I don't know why you'd want to use that because you want it to adhere to everything real good without being able to come off. So I mean it's basically I think like an oil type base because it's got an odor to it when you use it. It's not that bad, but I mean you can tell you're using it. Let's put it that way. And it goes away shortly after you use it. As soon as it dries in like about 4 or 5 minutes, it dries. It gives you work time, but it doesn't. It's not that quick, if you know what I'm saying. So it's like
Mhm.
sort of an ideal situation, and
Now, yeah. Now, the guy who has to scrape the stuff off, does the layout have both plastic wheel sets and metal, or exclusively metal?
exclusively metal.
Okay.
But we had a case, and we don't know whether it had anything to do with it. One guy brought an engine, his engines over that smoked. Okay, did you ever? Okay, you're laughing about it, yeah. And Rob will tell you too, it was a disaster because the guy kept overfilling it, and then somehow the holding case for the smoke oil cracked, and now it was coming off the bottom of the engine, oiling the entire railroad. And it was like a 3 or 4 month project of constantly running with those cleaning cars, ICMX cars with isopropyl alcohol 99%, and we finally got it basically all gone. And then, but we noticed that the contact with engine stalling or whatever didn't exist after the guy oiled the whole railroad. It was like we never had any problems. It's just that the engines were stalling everywhere on the hills with the oil. So so consequently, everything dragged it all over the railroad. And I would assume that between the dust that happens and this oil, it and the electric, being electrified and that it probably caked the stuff on the wheels. I would think, emulsified it or something like that. And this is what happened. It was really something crazy.
Yeah,
So
I laugh about the smoke because I was we when I was still working, we would off every Christmas, we have a holiday party, and there's a retiree who would bring in his O scale that would smoke, and we would they would set up a couple of layouts in addition to all the other stuff that was going on at the party, and he set up, and we were in a closed, very closed environment, low ceiling, and the room, it had just a couple doors on it, and he was running this Lionel stuff around and dumping the oil in it, and it's smoking like crazy. And the guy says, "I'm allergic to this," as he dumps more oil into the locomotive. And you're going,
yeah, this is the only guy we know that had these engines like this. It was like, and I go, get them damn things out of here, man. He picked up the engine. It was like, it's like you couldn't put your hand on the bottom of it. There was so much oil.
oh,
It was bad for a while, but it's corrected now, and we learned something by it because we use a two-step track cleaning system. Believe it or not, we had good friend of ours lives in Pennsylvania, and he believed in the wall clipper oil. Put
mhm.
put and But the only problem with it is that it builds up gunk eventually. That's the problem.
Yep.
And what we do is that if we ever have to clean it, basically we don't clean, but what, Rob, would you say we're almost getting down to only once a year now, right?
I'd say twice a year we clean it, September and then January.
Yeah,
Maybe if we do it 3 times, it's maybe in April or May, but usually it's like twice a year now.
right. And we run a CMRX car dumping isopropyl alcohol with 99%. And immediately afterwards, obviously that dries pretty quick because that will create that mini arcing if you leave it like that, and then you track it doesn't work again right away. We got a Wathers pad on a car, and I put the wall clipper oil on it in a very light coating, just not drippy at all. I actually put a couple drips on it, and I wipe it with a paper towel so it's smeared on it. And we run it around the railroad, and we have not had to clean the track at all. Everything, there's no engine stuttering or anything, and the shunts have been doing very well. So, once we cleaned off the wheels and that, we only had like 1 or 2 failures, and we found it with an ohm meter that it was just like too little paint or something, because obviously these guys are doing like 300 in one night. You're gonna miss one here and there.
Mhm.
So, but that paint, I swear by it, man. It's really good. That nickel based paint from MG Chemicals.
Okay.
So it's for putting your resistors on. But well, holy mackerel! This is it's 8:40 already. Holy crap! On our time, it's what it's 6:40 at your place, right, Rodney?
640 at my place.
Yeah. Now, what just off railroad subject for a second. What kind of temperatures are you running in Colorado now? It's ambient temperatures outside. How are you doing? Because we had a fairly cool spring and all that. And Ken lives in Syracuse, 150 miles east of us. He had close to 100 today, and we were in an I mean low 90s here in Buffalo.
Okay, we're running for about the last 2 or 3 weeks, pretty much. We've been running probably mid to low 90s, but it gets down to low 60s, often low 50s, high 50s at night. So I mean, it cools down, and that helps a lot. Plus, again, our humidity is, they're when the wind blows a little bit, they're talking about 5% humidity. So I mean, it's really dry, but we've got all kinds of smoke. I think the
Yeah.
whole west slope is burning up, and so it's just,
The
Because of
amount of, or and all of Utah, it seems.
yeah,
But yeah, over here it's, oh, let's see. Yeah, 98 degrees and 96% humidity, stuff like that.
yeah. That's why I moved to Colorado.
where was your original home, Rodney?
I've been around. I grew up in Iowa. Um, my first job was in California, Los Angeles area. They moved us from there to Danbury, Connecticut. So I lived
Danbury.
there for about 3 or 4 years. And I said, this isn't for me. And I moved to Colorado. And my standard line is I've lived in every state that starts with a C. So I'm stuck here till the union brings in another state that starts with a C.
Okay. Okay. I never paid attention, but obviously it was Connecticut, California, and Colorado. So, it, okay. Oh, well, I guess I'll get going here. I guess, boy, I appreciate it, Rodney, that all the work you did for us there.
Sure. No, it had to be done. It was a bug. Just finding it was a real terror.
Well, I guess it's safe to say sooner or later somebody would have ran into it.
You're absolutely right. Sooner or later, somebody will run into it.
I mean, because so you
Yeah, our apologies for putting you through the ringer there, Rodney. But it's just, yeah, we seem to find things that make your job harder, and we apologize for that.
Well, no, yeah, but it's they're there and it's got to be done.
Roger that.
that Steve Davis did have an interesting question on the Cats IO group there about those. He was talking about the train stat. Is it called? Is that the name? Is that the proper
Yeah,
name?
correct.
Yeah, because I see that Raspentini wrote in there, and I remember going to, but I think they just had a duplicate of what was being projected on screens with the train lineups. They had it on screens all around the Lehigh and Keystone. There was about, I would say there was four of them in different areas. You'd walk by and you'd see a lineup, and if a train was moving, it would show what interlocking it was at, and that was pretty damn interesting, really.
Hmm.
I thought that's pretty neat. So, and apparently Steve Davis wants to have it on a tablet or something like that, where guys would carry it.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. I'd like to help him a little more, but I'm starting to become outdated on some of that technology.
yeah, I gotcha. Well, as long as you keep cats working, that's the main thing there. But well, all right, guys, I'm gonna get going. Ken, stay cool, man. It's bad down in DeWitt or Kirkville.
Yep, I think I gotta get going too.
Yeah,
All
same
right.
here, guys.
Yep. Okay, Rob, look for an email. I'll give you a link when I get it up there.
Sounds good, Rodney. If I could, like I said, if I can get over the layout Sunday night, I'll try to test that and log everything and shoot you an email early
Okay.
next week.
Yeah, appreciate it.
No problem. You're welcome. Thank you for doing everything for us here. Really appreciate it.
Hmm.
See you, Ken. Did you eat your chicken, Ken? Did you
Oh
eat your
yeah,
chicken?
yeah, I worked it in.
Okay, buddy. All right. Well, good seeing all of you. Thanks
Yep.
a lot. Have a
Yep.
good one.
Have a great night, everybody. Take care.
Yep. You
Bye-bye.
too. Bye.
Thanks. Bye bye.